Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. It's a good thing Mabel is a fast learner because we sure need the extra firepower. And Todd is kicking butt. In fact, I think this is the first time I've ever seen him use a rifle, and he's impressive. No, it's more than that. It's like he's a shooting machine. Mabel yells, "I love this little rifle." I thought it would hurt my shoulder. I yell back, "That's the nice thing about these. They don't kick, but they also don't stop tangos as well as bigger rifles." She remarks, "I just put the little red dot on the target and fire. I think that you could teach a monkey how to do that." I didn't want to tell her, but she was probably right. Then something else really bad happens. Present, Todd, in the tunnels. There is a time for everything, and while I prefer my bow, when the arrows are gone, even though I carry more than most people, once they are out I cannot resupply. It's time for an alternate. I take one of the M4s that Mabel brings back, sport it, and begin firing double taps. Head and heart, head and heart, head and heart. 15 double taps later, I drop the mag and slap home a new one. There's enough dead right now that they have created a slight barrier, which is good, but then something worse happens, and a large group pushes through the dead body barrier. I flip the M4 to auto and start firing bursts. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. We start running down the hill toward the cabin and I order, "Linus, you and half the men take the workshop." He orders, "Form on me and try to keep up." The snipers chase all the scumsuckers into the cabin, so when we get closer to the cabin, they start firing out of what used to be the windows. The snipers figure that out and start giving them the shit they deserve. They scumsuckers change tactics and stay behind cover, but stick their rifles through the windows and spray randomly. I glance over and see a soldier with AM 32 MGL, a revolver-style 6-shot 40mm grenade launcher which replaces the M203. I like the hell out of it in question. "Do have CS, tear gas, rounds for that?" He responds, "Right now I have high explosive rounds loaded, but I can fix that." I order, "Well, I don't want to blow the hell out of my daughter's cabin, so gas the crap out of them." Damn, is he good. He doesn't even slow up, switches loads on the M32, and begins pumping tear gas rounds through the missing windows. The gas has the effect we want as some of the scumsuckers start boiling out the missing front door. I don't even have to issue any order because we're so pissed, and there's so damn many of us the scumsuckers are shot to pieces before they even fall to the ground. We're almost to the doorway. I watch as my Marines pie the door in record time, then Hammer flies through the door swinging his claymore and yelling, "It's hammer time." We storm in right behind him, but by the time we get in the cabin, there's not much left for us to do other than clear the rooms. Then a Marine runs in and gives me a bad report. "Sir, they are having a hell of a time at the workshop." I look at my men and order, half form a perimeter around the cabin, the other half head to the workshop to provide help. Present, Linus, at the workshop. Glenn does a hell of a job containing the scumsuckers at the cabin, so when we fly past it we take very little fire. However, things change as we get closer to the workshop, where we run into some serious firepower. Maria says, "Damn, these scumsuckers are serious." I answer, "I don't know how many of the scumsuckers are in the workshop, but they have the high ground, and we don't have much in the way of cover." Then we see something that will more than even the odds. Now who the hell brought one of those along? Present, Jack, in the tunnels. How many of these scumsuckers do they have in the workshop? It seems endless, and our ammo is starting to run low. I look at Liz and get ready to order her to go get some more mags when Zarika runs up pushing a little cart. The cart has a duffel bag full of rifles and 2 duffel bags full of mags. I greet her, "Zarika, that is perfect timing." She immediately asks, "Where's Yasmin?" I hate to tell her, but she deserves the truth. I respond, "She's been wounded. She's behind the table with my wife and son." I watch in amazement as Zarika becomes some sort of maniac killing machine. Then I realize she has the perfect weapon for us right now. Then I open the weapon duffel bag, switch rifles, and yell, "It's time to rock and roll." Present, Zarika, in the tunnels. I cannot believe that Yasmin has been wounded. I have failed at my duty of first wife, and I need to repair that situation immediately. I fire like crazy at the evil men with this special rifle that fires very fast and run toward the table. I must help Yasmin. Present, Masha, in the tunnels. I hear multiple machine guns and increase my worry. If our enemies have brought more firepower, then we will be overrun. I rise and see Zarika has a squad automatic weapon, is firing at the doorway and running toward me. And my loving husband also has a squad automatic weapon and has it trained on the doorway and is firing in more controlled bursts. I look and confirm Ivan is doing his job and has plugged his ears with his fingers, like I have instructed him. Zarika arrives, and I caution, "Be careful, little one. Yasmin is right behind the table." She jumps over the table and demands, I want to see Yasmin. I order, then give me your squad automatic weapon. I take the saw and begin to assist my Jack. Present, Zarika, in the tunnels. I try to move Ivan out of the way, but he fights me. Mama tell me sit here. I feel for a pulse, but I cannot feel one. Yasmin is dead, and I have failed miserably as Ben's first wife. I begin to wail, then Masha comforts me. Do not cry, little one, Yasmin is not dead. I counter, but she has no pulse. Masha replies, yes. I gave her a narcotic to place her in a coma because I did not have a medkit to further treat her injury. I state, I will go find a medkit for you and bring it back. I jump back over the table and head toward the hallway. Present, Jack, in the tunnels. What the hell? Zarika is running back toward me. Does she have some sort of death wish? I hold down the trigger on the saw, and it keeps her covered until she gets beside me. I stop her and question, what the hell are you doing? She yanks her arm out of my hand and says, I need to get a medkit for Yasmin. I order, well, while you're at it, bring back more ammo for this saw. She nods, takes off, and I begin firing bursts again. For a short time, things get remarkably quiet until, what the hell is that? Goddamn. Present, Alexei, Mira, and Ira, at the fertility clinic. The fertility doctor's ID card gives us access to the clinic. We walk inside to find there are a few persons around, and Ira reminds the doctor, if you value your life, you will not cause an alarm. I add, and if you value your Bentley, you would be wise to follow our instructions. Mira questions, Alexei, how will you proceed with the investigation? I state, we will need to access the security camera videos and also the employee database. The doctor asks, of what use is the employee database? I inform him, I plan on acquiring the bank account information of each employee. Mira remarks, yes, that is most wise, my brother. Hunt the trail of money. I correct her, it is follow the money trail. Someone had to fiscally profit from this so-called mistake. The doctor states, I am not sure I have access to the employee database. I smile and suggest, let us retire to your office and we will discover if you have sufficient privilege. I am still gravely bothered that the fetus was Nubian. Something about it haunts the recesses of my cranial carapace. I glance at Irinka and she questions, Marinka, what troubles you? I reply in our special language, Irinka, the factoid the fetus was Nubian is most troubling. Irinka's eyes flicker and we simultaneously exclaim, it was him. I swear, male offspring of female Saluki. I should have not looked this gift equine in the mandibles. Alexei questions, my sisters, what do you mean? Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. I'm happy as hell to be leaving all this damn bullshit. That is until I reach the janitor's room in the basement. I open the door, and I can't believe it. They're staring me in the faces. Rex, the Texas Ranger. He's the one who persuaded me to join the Marines so many damn years ago. Behind him are the janitor, Margarita, and the damn little dog. The janitor shrugs his shoulders and says, sorry, Pavel, but it looks like you've been caught. I grin at Rex and say, how the hell have you been? He smiles back and says, I should have known the damn Austin Avenger was you, and I sure as hell wouldn't have wasted so much time trying to find him if you had just told me you were in town. The janitor looks surprised and asks, you two know each other? Rex replies, he'll do to ride the river with, the highest compliment a man could receive in the Old West. This was a tribute from the old trail days when only the fearless dared to swim herds across treacherous rivers. If a life-threatening mishap occurred in the crossing, the help of the nearest cowboy would be the difference between life and death. I smile and reply, a ranger like Rex is about as rare as rocking horse shit. Rex laughs, now that's a new one to add to my repertoire. By the way, is it Pavel now? I sure don't think much of your janitor friend. He's lower than a snake's belly. I shake my head, glare at the janitor and demand, what the hell do you mean? Rex laughs, don't tell me you tied one on last night. Shit, I spent all night looking for you, and you went drinking. I counter, hey, I played a little music and I only had 2 beers. Rex continues, yeah, but that was probably in dog beers. I laugh, dog beers, is that like dog ears? So tell me about this yellow-bellied janitor. He points his thumb over his shoulder in the general direction of the janitor and says, well, he's been selling you out to someone. We ain't sure who, but we're looking into it for you. The janitor swears, you scumsucker. Then he pulls a knife, but he is a bit too slow. My K-bar flies through the air as Rex ducks, and my K-bar nails the scumsucker janitor in the hand. The janitor is jumping around and swearing up a blue streak until he sees Rex's 6-shooter is out, aimed at his head while he pledges, just twitch one more time to give me a reason to blow your sorry butt away. The janitor freezes and I taunt, damn Rex, you're getting a little slow in your old age. He explains, nah, I was giving him a fighting chance. But now he's going back in the Huskow where he belongs. I nod my head towards Margarita and ask, has she been selling me out too? Rex shakes his head. Nope, She's just had a run of bad luck like all the Russians they brought over here for this performance. I could see hope in Margarita's eyes, but with what Rex told me about the janitor, I knew my time in Austin was coming to a close. I walk over, take her hands, and say in Russian, Margarita, I have more people chasing me than a Russian mobster. While I would love to stay, I have to leave. I watch as her face transforms. She slaps the hell out of me and yells, and storms out of the room. Rex laughs and comments, well, I don't know much Russian, but scumsucker seems to sound the same in all languages. It seems you still have a way with the ladies. I walk over, take my knife out of the scumsucker janitor's hand, wipe the bloody blade on his shirt, and say, well, I guess I'd better get my butt out of here before whomever this scumsucker sold me out to shows up. Rex questions, you still got some of them looking for you? I nod my head. Yeah, they're never going to give up until I kill them or they kill me. He repeats one of my favorite quotes, watch your top knot. I reply with Jeremiah Johnson's response, yep, watch your in. I grab my gear and hit the road. Present, Stacy and Samantha, Austin. It takes forever to get to Austin. Then when we're finally here, we have to get the pregnancy test for Sam along with some high-end video gear. Damn, the things I'm doing to keep her happy. But I remember Grandmama's words about keeping my enemies even closer and bite my tongue. We stop in a bathroom, she pees on the stick, and then we wait. It comes back negative. She jumps up and down and says, thank God. I don't know what I would have done if I was pregnant. She suddenly crinkles up her face and continues, oh, Stacy, I'm sorry. I know that must have been insensitive. I say, that's okay. I wish mine had been the same. Now let's move it. She questions, where are we going? I answer with less information than she would like. We're going to stop by a theater. She asks, a theater? What for? I answer with a small lie. Well, it will be a great place for you to do your story about the Mossad. Bill walks toward me and motions to get my attention. I say, Samantha, give me a minute. I walk over and he explains, well, we just missed Ben. I exclaim, what? How in the did that happen? He continues, well, apparently he's friends with the hard-as-nails Texas Ranger who picked up on the janitor sending information to us. I question, well, is our man still following him? He gives me a grim look and says, hell no. Ben got a ride from a semi-driver. The driver figured out they were being tailed and called in some of his friends, and they ran my man off the road. I ask for more. Please tell me you have some good information for me. He smiles and says, well, we did have some luck since the trucking company that owns the semi is one of yours. I grin and look forward to victory. So, we can get GPS off the truck. He shakes his head. It seems this driver disabled that, but we can get his log sheets, and we do know they were headed west. I order, find that driver and bring him to me. Bill says, anything else? I reply, we need to head to an empty theater. I think a moment about asking about the Mossad, but decide not knowing is better. Stacy is being so good to me, in fact possibly too good. She must have some other motive, but I don't know what it is. We drive to an empty theater and I question, who's going to be my cameraman? Bill says, well, I will give it a try. I take my place in front of the camera, nod to Bill. The red light comes on and I begin. Good day, America. Samantha Stevens here reporting for the Truth Network. Please excuse my overly long absence, but don't worry because I have a story that I hope makes you as angry as it makes me. I listen to Samantha's report and decide one of the wisest things I've ever done is befriend her. She has a gift for reporting and rip the Mossad a new one. When she's finished, she comes over to me and damn, I can't believe the question she asks me. Present, Jack, in the tunnels. There is this huge boom that damn near deafens us, and I yell, what the hell was that? Masha yells, it sounded like a cannon being fired. And she was right. That's exactly what it sounded like. Then there are two more booms. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. There are three loud as hell booms from the workshop area. I yell, what the hell was that? Todd signs, it sounded like a cannon. My only thought is, hell no. If the scumsuckers brought a cannon, we're in a world of hurt. I want to head to the workshop door to reinforce them, but we begin to hear a bunch of fire from inside the cabin. I yell, I think Daddy and the Marines are finally here. Then I hear a voice I recognize. You're damn straight we're here, my little princess boss. Now make sure you don't shoot your father. I yell, ceasefire, friendlies incoming. Present, Linus, at the workshop. A damn tank rolls toward the garage and Maria questions, who in the hell brought that? I reply, I don't know who it was, but I'm not looking this gift horse in the mouth. I watch a bunch more troops show up as one of them yells, sir, the general sent us. I look at the tank and order, with the tank here, fall back and form a perimeter. The rest of my men fall in behind the tank. The tank leads us right up to the workshop. It pokes its damn cannon through one of the windows and starts firing, but they rounds don't sound quite right. After the third round, the door to the workshop flies open, and the scumsuckers stumble outside rolling and crawling sans weapons, and with their hands clutching their ears. Maria states the obvious, damn Linus, look at them. Every one of them is bleeding from the ears. What in the hell did that tank do to them? I grin and explain, Maria, that was brilliant. They didn't have any real rounds for the cannon, just blanks. But a blank in that confined a space had to be literally ear-shattering. I order, take prisoners and search them for any contraband. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. We kick our way through a huge number of bodies, some even burnt to a crisp, and finally see the door to the basement. I yell, Jennifer, it's me. She comes flying out the door. I silently curse when I see her because she looks like hell. She runs to me, gives me a hell of a hug, and cries, Daddy, thank you so much. I hold her tight and say, don't worry, Jennifer, I'm here now to help. She pulls away and asks, where did all the Marines come from? I answer, well, Linus got in touch with a few of them, and then the word spread that America's sweetheart was under attack, and it snowballed from there. So, how is my little princess boss? She glares at me and demands, have you been talking to Maria? I laugh and answer, of course, but I do think the name fits you perfectly. Present, Jack, in the tunnels. After the 3 loud as hell booms, things get really quiet. Too quiet, and I begin to get concerned. Then I hear, Jack, it's Linus and a team. We're coming in, so don't shoot. I order, come in with your weapons lowered. Yeah, I wasn't sure it wasn't some sort of trick. I hear Linus offer, we'll do one better than that. Then he orders, everyone leave your weapons outside the tunnel complex. Linus and Maria walk in, and I heave a sigh of relief and state, you two are a sight for these poor, old, tired eyes. What the hell were those booms? Linus tells me about the tank, and I about laugh my butt off until Masha yells, Jack, you can catch up later. We need some help for Yasmin. Maria heads towards the table and questions, what's wrong with Yasmin? Present, Maria, in the tunnels. Masha replies, Maria, she has a GSW, gunshot wound, to the abdomen. I jump over the table and question, is there a medkit available? Masha answers, Zarika is bringing one. I add more information, well, we have a doctor in this group. Let's get him in here. I yell, Linus, honey, please get that doctor here, tell him we have a GSW to the abdomen. I check for a pulse, but don't find one, and Masha states, Maria, do not worry. I gave her a compound to slow her metabolism, so she would not suffer excessive blood loss. I go to move her boy, and he declares, I no move. Mama, tell me sit here. Masha says, Ivan, please let this lady look at Yasmin. Ivan adds, I tell you she have very bad boo-boo. I pull back the diaper, which was a great idea, see the wound and notice there isn't much blood loss. I tell Masha that slowing her metabolism was a great idea. The doctor runs in and asks, where the GSW? I yell, she's over here. He jumps the table, starts to work on her, as Masha explains what she did. I decide it's time to find my princess boss, so I ask, where's Jens? Jack gives me directions. I head down the corridor and marvel at how big this complex is. I get to the other end, walk out into the basement, and see Jens talking to her father. She sees me and demands, what's this princess boss bullshit? I thought I kicked your butt once over it. Don't tell me I need to kick your butt again. Glenn laughs and teases, Jennifer, calm down. I think that's probably the most accurate description I've ever heard for you. She stamps her foot and whines, Daddy, don't make me kick your butt too. He laughs and adds fuel to the fire. Just remember, my princess boss, you're never too old for a good spanking. I laugh and add some fuel of my own. Now that I would pay good money to watch. Present, Ben, on the road. I hitch a ride out of Austin in a semi, and it seems the driver somehow knows I'm their trucker's angel. I tell the driver, thanks for stopping to pick me up. I see you have a car in front of you. Is that a lead car? He smiles, you can call me Parsimonious Paul or Pages. Hell yes, it's a lead car. We learned from the best, you. What you've done for us here in Texas has spread all over America. And once again, we're finally safely driving our trucks. You'll never need to worry about getting a ride again. We all know what you look like. I'm concerned, so I reply, how is it that you all know what I look like? He explains, don't worry, it's not like we put your picture up in truck stops. But when we're at truck stops, we talk to each other and exchange copies of this. He pulls out his wallet. It's one of the large ones with a chain connected to his pants. He opens it, pulls out a folded sheet of paper, and hands it to me. I unfold it, and there is a photocopy of a remarkable drawing of me, which makes me look like the Orthodox Archangel Michael. But instead of a sword, I'm holding AM-4 with a scythe sticking out of the barrel and blood dripping from the blade. There are only a couple things I don't care for, so I question, what the hell am I doing with a halo around my head and wings on my back? Paul replies, hell, you're an angel, and don't you recognize the resemblance to another logo? I answer, no, I don't. He answers, do you remember Stinky Pete? He's the one that drew this of you, and the drawing is modeled after the Sons of Anarchy logo. But you're not even close to the Grim Reaper. That's why he added the halo and wings. I ask, PP, what the hell are the Sons of Anarchy? He answers, you sure as hell don't watch much television, do you? I reply, no, that's wrong. I don't watch any television. PP continues, and tells me all about the TV show, then he drops a real bombshell on me. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. It sounds like a war is happening on my roof. Then it becomes quiet, and I hear, Tom, all your adversaries are dead. We need to depart before more arrive. I rise up and see Inga standing there with a pistol, and Byron waves at me from his roof. Shit. I hate owing anyone anything, and now I owe these two a bunch. I complain. You didn't have to help. I was doing fine. Inga says, Tom, do not worry. You do not owe me anything. Then I get up, and we begin to run down the stairs. We reach the first floor, and Byron is waiting with a nice-as-hell van. I question, where did we get this? He laughs. This is compliments of the narcotic lord. The men that went after you left it. I took out the guard and grabbed the keys. I ask, I hope you disabled any location transponders. Byron sasses, hell yes I did. I wasn't born yesterday. I taunt, you can say that again. You're older than mud. Inga orders, both of you stop the bickering right now, and Tom, let me check your dressing. I complain, like hell you're looking at my butt again. She threatens, either you willingly let me check the bandages, or else. I smart mouth, or else. I watched in the rear view as Inga touched Tom on the arm, and he went out like a light. I ask her, now just what the hell was that? Inga begins to check Tom's, but dressing, and says, that's for me to know, and for you to never know. I question, okay then where the hell are we going? She tells me, and suddenly I'm not so sure about her ideas. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. As we left the room to search for the location where the FSB agents were killed, I totally slipped into the character of an old grandmother. I hunched over, walked with a slow shuffling gait aided by my cane on one side and Tatiana's arm on the other side. In my mind, I had become an old grandmother. Tatiana whispered, Masha, you are a master of disguise. I am going to miss you. I replied in character, what did you say, child? You know you have to speak up, or I cannot understand you. She spoke louder, I am sorry, grandmother. I do not know where your grandson was killed. I should have known better than to try to talk to Masha. She was gone. She was now an old woman who was looking for the place where her grandson, the FSB agent, died. Our plan was to take a taxi back to the hospital, the last known location of the stupid major, and start our search from there. I hailed a taxi, and Masha took forever getting into the taxi. I tried to get into the taxi and complained. These taxis are getting smaller every year. Tatiana was finally in character and said, come on, grandmother. You know they are the same size as when you were younger. She helped me into the taxi, and the driver asked, where are you going? I replied, speak up, these old ears can't hear you. He yelled, where do you need me to take you? I cackled and replied, what? I don't want you to bake me. He threw his hands up in frustration and asked Tatiana, where do you and your grandmother need to go? The taxi driver is kind but grows tired of Masha's grandmotherly ruse, so he asked me where we need to go. I replied, please, kind sir, we just found out one of my cousins, my grandmother's last grandson, was killed, and she wanted to visit the location of his death to pray. The taxi driver replied, well, if it's the site of the huge car bomb, I refuse to go there. I forced a blush and whispered, I'm sorry to ask you to do this, but my cousin worked for the FSB. Yes, it was an embarrassment for the whole family, but he was killed today. Do you by any chance know the location where he died? Flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie, the internet cafe. Colonel Maggie ordered the damn lieutenant to take us to the internet cafe, and he obeyed. We jumped out of the BTR, AITA, but the place had a closed sign on the door. I looked at Maggie and questioned, well, what the hell do we do now? Colonel Maggie replied, Jack, you should goddamn know what to do. The building is big enough that I bet the proprietor lives here, so we knock. Damn, I hate it when an officer, even Colonel Maggie was right. I pounded on the door, and we heard, go away, we are closed. Maggie turned to the lieutenant commanding the BTR, AITA, and questioned, do you think you can fire a 5-round burst over the top of the internet cafe? He replied, without a doubt, sir. They fired a 5-round burst from the 14.5mm cannon over the top of the internet cafe. Maggie again pounded on the door and said, I was tired of the bullshit and was ready to have the BTR, AITA destroy the whole damn building, but we needed the intel the proprietor had. After the burst over the roof from the 14.5mm cannon, I banged on the door and yelled, either you get down here right now and talk to us, or I will have this APC destroy the whole building. The person yelled, I will be right down. It took about a minute, then he opened the door and... Flashback, Ben, in the hospital. I was in my new room, was bored, turned on the TV for noise, and was shocked at what I saw. The damn scumsuckers. They were terrorizing the hell out of this village, all because of me. This was bullshit that I needed to do something about. Hell, even if the scumsuckers caught me, it would still be better for this town. But the immediate problem was my guard. I had two, but earlier sent one out for vodka. I called, Sergey, can you come here? He walked over to the bed and answered, "Duh." I motioned him closer. He leaned down enough, and I clocked the hell out of him. Now to implement the rest of my plan. Flashback, Tatiana and Masha in the taxi. The taxi driver stated, "I'm sorry to hear he was a relative of yours. Even though he was FSB, the Chechen scumsuckers shouldn't have killed him. And I know the exact spot they were killed, and will take you and your grandmother there." I had hoped that the taxi driver had the needed information. Many times if you wanted something, it was better to talk first to taxi drivers. I signaled Tatiana so she would be ready when the taxi took us to the location where the FSB agents were killed. We were lucky this was an older taxi with the mechanical meter that clicked every second. I pulled the Major's message out of my purse and anxiously waited. Flashback, Major M, being held hostage. The enemy leader stormed back into the room, his voice filled with rage. "You idiot American. Sergeant Blaine has been moved. But don't worry, we control the entire town now. It's only a matter of time before we find him, and then we'll kill you both." I smirked, meeting his glare. "Yeah? Well, at least I know how to swear properly." That seemed to set him off. He shouted something in his language and launched into a furious beating. What he didn't realize was that I was already using the distraction to start working on my restraints. Another one of his men pulled him away, sneering at me. "When I take your head, we'll use it for a football." I taunted some more. "Yeah, if I was free I would rip your head off and shit down your neck." My mouth earned me another beating. Flashback, Jens. I was sure by now that female dog Russian spy had received the gift and knew exactly what I thought of her. I would have loved to seen her covered in the dog poo, but there was no way to do that. I read through my magazines and came up with another great idea. This one was much cheaper than the last one, and I even added an extra special surprise to it. I walked downstairs, but no one was at home. Rats, I wanted to ask Daddy about the stinky Major getting kidnapped. I turned on the TV, and while they were showing the video of the Major, and I quickly recognized something odd. Flashback, Glenn. It was morning, and I grabbed another cup of coffee to keep me alert. Anytime one of my Marines, even the Major, was taken hostage, it was a major situation for me. I'd been on the horn trying to get permission to send in a recon unit to assist in the Major's recovery, but the Russian government had their hands full. The Chechen terrors were tearing the hell out of the village where Sergeant Blaine was located, and the last thing the Russians wanted were more Marines who could possibly become targets. We did have a stroke of luck as one of the spooks at the NSA figured out the Major blinked Morse code. But when it was transcribed into English, it didn't make much sense, and they were still trying to break the code the Major used. I decided it was time to phone the Colonel and light a fire under her, but flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie, the Internet Cafe. The proprietor of the Internet Cafe came to the door, and I asked, "We are looking for two women." Then I described their looks, and as I started to describe Masha, I could see fear cross his face. Then he lied. "I have never seen either of those women. Now leave me alone." As he started to close the door, a shot cracked between Jack and I and hit the proprietor square in the chest. We dove to the ground, and my phone began to ring. I ordered, "Let's get back to the safety of the BTR." Jack grabbed the wounded proprietor, and we ran like hell toward the BTR, made it inside, but I missed the call. I looked and noted it was from Glenn. Shit, he was going to be pissed off. As Maggie got settled, the Spetsnaz medic worked on the owner of the Internet Cafe, and I began to wonder how in the hell we could locate Masha and Tatiana if he was wounded. Then it hit me. I asked the lieutenant, "Do you have a way to find the address of people in this village?" He nodded and said, "Yes, Sergeant, we do." I smiled and gave him the names of the two kids I threatened the last time Masha and I were at the Internet Cafe. I hoped they might have come back and had seen the women. He started to make some phone calls. Jack came up with a good idea on how to possibly find the women, but I still had no idea how to find the Major. I didn't know I needed to call Glenn back before he became even more pissed at me. Flashback, Glenn. My phone rang. It was Jennifer, so I answered. "Sorry, Jennifer, there's an incident I needed to handle, so I'm in my office." She said, "Yes, Daddy. It's on the news about the Major." "Did you know?" My aide interrupted. "Sir, the Colonel is on the other line." I told Jennifer, "Listen, Princess, I will call you right back." She got upset. "Daddy, please don't call me Princess, and what I have to say is really important." I said, "Sorry, but I have to go." I hung up on her and answered the Colonel's call. "It's a damn good thing you called me back." She stated, "Sorry, sir. We were being shot at when the phone rang." Damn. I knew it was bad over there, but I was pissed that more of my troops were in harm's way. I ordered, "Colonel, your safety and the safety of the two SGTS are my primary concern right now. Are you getting the support you need from the Russians?" She replied, "Yes, sir. Sergeant Reynolds and I are inside one of their APCs as we speak." I questioned, "And where is Sergeant Blaine? Because with his recent accolades, he is a real priority." She stated, "He's being guarded by the Spetsnaz at the hospital." I informed her, "We do have some good news. The Major was able to blink something in Morse code during the hostage video." However, it appears to be in some sort of code that the boys at NSA are trying to figure out. My aide came in and said, "Sir, sorry to interrupt, but it's your daughter, and she said it's an emergency." I thought, hell, when it rains it pours. I ended the call with the colonel and answered Jennifer's call. Flashback. Jens. Darn it to heck. Daddy hung up on me and wouldn't listen to me even when I told him it was important. I decided to call back. I got his aide and demanded, "This is Jennifer, and tell the general I need to talk to him because it's an emergency." I knew he would talk to me because that was a code word he'd given me to use. I was a little worried because I wasn't sure if this constituted an emergency or not. Daddy came on the phone and said, "Jennifer, what the hell is wrong?" I replied, "Daddy, please don't get angry with me. I wanted to tell you I was watching the hostage video, and the major is blinking Morse code." Daddy said, "Yes, Jennifer, we know that, but we can't figure out the code he used. It's the letter C, then a number, and then another letter. Now is this the emergency you called me about?" I could tell Daddy was a little angry, so I said, "But Daddy, the major didn't use a code." Daddy asked, "Jennifer, what do you mean? We have some of the best crypto guys at the NSA working on this, so don't tell me you figured it out." I replied, "Daddy, it's not a code. I recognize it because it's directions. Remember, Daddy, how I count everything? Well, that's what the major did. He counted something, then the taxi turned right or left, and the S means it was stopped for that number of counts." Flashback. Glenn. I couldn't believe it. However, I think Jennifer figured this out. I can remember how she counted everything and drove us practically crazy with it. But now it all made sense. I stated, "Jennifer, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you when you first called." She said, "That's okay, Daddy. I know I'm sort of a pain in the rear sometimes." I lied, "Jennifer, you are never a pain in the rear." She giggled, "Now, Daddy, you know better than to lie to me. Anyway, I need to go and study my Russian." She hung up the phone. I yelled to my aide, "Get the damn NSA on the horn, and then call the colonel again. My daughter figured it out." I couldn't wait to rub the noses of those smug NSA scumsuckers in this. Wait until I tell them my not-quite-teenage daughter figured it out. Flashback. Ben. In the hospital. It was hard as hell getting Sergey out of his uniform and then putting it on. I had worked up a hell of a sweat by the time I was done. I was happy he wore his body armor. Even though it was sort of a piece of shit, for what I needed it was better than nothing. Plus, I reinforced it with bedpans. I made sure to tie him up with my stupid hospital gown, put a sock in his mouth, and covered it with adhesive tape. I wish to hell I had my dress blues or my service uniform, because then the Chechens would know exactly who I was. Yeah, I wanted to be the biggest target I could be to get the scumsuckers to come after me. I made a few modifications to the wheelchair, grabbed my and his AK and all the ammo I could find, then worked my way into the wheelchair. All this around had my pain level cranked pretty damn high, which was exactly what I wanted. I threw a hospital gown over me, rolled to the doorway, checked, and the hallway was clear. Now to go take the fight to the scumsuckers. Flashback. Colonel Maggie and Jack, inside the BTR-80. My phone rang again. I looked, it was Glenn. I answered, "Yes, sir." He stated, "Colonel, we have a break in the case. The code the major blinked was directions and some sort of time reference. We are guessing for right now it's seconds. You need to get your butt to where the major was abducted and follow the directions I am sending you in a text message." I replied, "Sir, we aren't sure exactly where the major was kidnapped." The Russian lieutenant waved at me, so I said, "Wait a minute, sir." I muted the phone, and the lieutenant stated, "Sir, there were 2 FSB agents killed today that were assigned to follow the major." I unmuted the phone and reported, "Sir, it appears the attackers took out the security detail assigned to the major. That gives us a solid starting point." He responded, "Good job, Colonel. Now move fast and get our Marine back." I passed the message to the lieutenant, who gave the orders, and the APC rolled forward. Turning to Maggie, I said, "That was clever of the major to blink out directions." She answered, "We're damn lucky someone figured it out." We were well on the way to get the major when the lieutenant declared. Flashback. Masha and Tatiana, in the taxi. The taxi driver announced, "We are at the location where the 2 FSB agents were killed." Tatiana requested, "Sir, will you please help me extract my grandmother from the taxi?" He exited the cab, reached in to help me, and Tatiana rendered him unconscious and pushed him into the back seat as I jumped out of the other side of the taxi. We both jumped into the front seat and Tatiana began to drive. While I counted the clicks of the meter, it reached 60 and I said, "Turn right here." I said a prayer that the major would still be alive when we arrived. Flashback. Safia, Mira, and Ira, in Israel. I stopped the car, looked at the twins and said, "Yes, you two are both women and suffer the same problems I do. And for being so damn smart, you have zero command of euphemisms. Now I don't want to talk about butts or derrieres or pie holes." Mira explained, "Safia, we received a very rigid training which forced us to speak the way we speak. We desire that you continue to teach us the so-called euphemisms. While we may not use them in our speaking, it would help us understand some encountered conversations better. Shoot. I was upset, but I guess this was a chance to really help them. I recanted. Listen, I am sorry, but you sort of drove me crazy. Then Ira commented, Safia, you must learn to control your female hormones. I decided screw them. Let them figure this one out, okay? Do you two know how you make a 3O hormone? I almost cracked up when Mira started talking all this medical gibberish until, damn it all, Ira stopped her and stated, Mira, I think this is a word on play joke, because I have heard it once before. Mira stated, elucidate please, my sister. Ira replied, unfortunately Mira, I never heard the line of punch of the joke. Mira begged, Safia, please elucidate us with the line of punch. I decided this could be fun, so I replied, don't pay her the money. Mira questioned, that is the line of punch? Ira responded, that makes no sense. Safia, further elucidate us. I held my ground and declared, I am not giving you the answer. You two have to figure it out on your own. Mira looked at Ira and lamented, Ira, is this some sort of diabolical punishment? First to tell us a joke, which we obviously do not comprehend, then to give us the line of punch, which confuses us even more. Ira responded, Marinka, if we didn't need Safia to drive, I'd suggest we use the stun gun to snap her out of it. I laughed. Yeah, that would both jolt her and straighten her out. Safia shot back, you can take that stun gun and shove it somewhere else. I replied, Safia, if we were to use the stun gun that way, it wouldn't end well for any of us. Safia chuckled. Yeah, that would definitely be a bad idea. Ira shook her head. Marinka, I believe Safia has once again started a streak of colorful expressions. I don't think she literally meant what she said. I smirked. And she's just added another one to the list. Ira mused. So, if we really went all out, would we be making things worse instead of better? I laughed. Probably. Sounds like something people have been exaggerating about for ages. I commented to Marinka. Yes, men are always watching us. Mira replied, in addition to everything else. Safia asked, do you mean our appearance? I answered, exactly, little one. But we've lost track of the joke we were talking about. Mira added, yes, it's still a mystery to us. As we neared our destination, I restated the joke with emphasis and a dramatic pause. How do you make a person gruenin? I couldn't believe it. They were both quiet for what seemed like forever, then Mira said, Ira, the emphasis Safia placed on hormone makes me realize it may be 2 words. Ira requested, Safia, please repeat that word with the same emphasis. I said, 3O hormone. Ira stated, Mira, you are correct in your assumption, it is not hormone, it is hormone. But what is a hormone? Mira answered, Ira, I have no idea. I decided to add fuel to the fire and questioned, have you two heard of a homophone? Ira requested, please spell that for us. It was a crazy request, but this whole conversation was crazy anyway, so I answered, HOMOPHONE. Mira stated, homo is slang for homosexual, so is that a phone a gay person uses? I corrected, not homophone, homophone. It is a word that is pronounced the same, is spelled differently, and has a different meaning, such as a knight of the round table and night when you sleep. Ira excitedly said, so hormone is a homophone. Mira adds, no, it is 2 homophones. The first being whore and the second being moan. The destination is ahead, so I interrupted. We are here, and will need to continue this discussion later. They both complained in unison. Safia, that is a cruel punishment. I internally smiled and thought, you bet but it is. Payback is. Hey, that gives me a new idea. Flashback, Ben, on his mission. As I reached the ground floor, I worried I wouldn't be able to get through the Spetsnaz guards I figured were in place. However, I was wrong. It seemed like anyone who was mobile enough to leave the hospital was hurrying out, and the Spetsnaz weren't looking at who was leaving. They were more interested in the cars that were trying to reach the patients who were leaving. And after that damn big car bomb, I didn't blame them. So I rolled right past the guards. Then I stopped and scanned the area. Now that's a perfect place for my plan. I rolled about a half a click to a little park, threw off my hospital gown, put on the bedpan helmet that I had fashioned. Hey, Sergey wasn't wearing a helmet and I needed something. Then I fired an AK into the air and yelled, come on, you Chechen scumsuckers. Here I am, and I'm spoiling for a fight. Flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie, inside the BTR-80. The lieutenant declared, Sergeant Blaine is missing. I questioned, what the hell are you talking about? He explained, one of his guards left to purchase vodka, the other was found bound and gagged in the room, and told us Sergeant Blaine assaulted him. I looked at Maggie and she ordered, screw the major. The old man made it clear that Sergeant Blaine was a priority. Lieutenant, we need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. The BTR-80 hauled, but we were almost to the hospital, the driver stated. Sirs, you aren't going to believe this. We opened the front doors and I couldn't believe it myself. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. I heard some rumors of what happened and I couldn't believe it. It sounded like some weird science fiction novel. I want to hear it from my own daughter's lips, so I ask, Jennifer, what the hell has gone on here, and were you sure you needed to use the doomsday device? Jennifer replies, Daddy, we've had a hell of a battle here. First, it was the Colombian narcotic lord's army that attacked us. Then some sort of remote control grizzly bear. Then I guess a remote control cougar. Then rats that were trained to only eat human flesh. Then killer bees and cockroaches. And finally, this last wave of the narcotic lord's army. The cabin was inhabited by dead and half-dead rats, killer bees and cockroaches, and I was sure there was no way to effectively clean it other than purging it by fire. I look and can see she's tired as hell and silently curse myself for not getting here sooner. I want to clear up one more thing, so I ask, so what got the Colombian narcotic lord so upset at you? It's good to see fire in her eyes when she confirms, Daddy, it was my so-called best friend Megan. She left after she tried to kill me at the mental hospital, and now she works for him. I have heard she is using her psychological training to add compounds to his narcotics that make them even more addictive. Maria adds, Sir, we sent a team down there to capture Megan, but all the members were killed except for 3. This jibes with what I have heard, so I question, which 3 survived? Jennifer answers, Tom, Byron, and some woman named Inga. I think she's a friend of Masha's. I continue to assess the situation. Tell me, are Jack and Masha here now? Maria replies, Yes, sir. I just left Jack and Masha at the workshop door. I further explore for verification. And is that Byron the Marine that looks like Santa Claus? And yes, I do keep track of some former Marines. Jennifer confirms, Yes, Daddy, it's that Byron. I order, Okay, Jennifer, I assume you have a meeting room somewhere in the tunnels. We need to have a meeting in 30 minutes. I want your whole team there. Then I look at my men and order, and I want 20 of my men to circulate and gather any thoughts or questions because we will address those in the meeting. I smile at Jennifer and ask, When was the last time you ate? A large lady walks out and states, Not for a long time, sir, but you can be sure I'll have food for everyone in 30 minutes if I can borrow a few of your men. I order, Okay. Anyone that's helped cook before can volunteer to help. I look at her and apologize. Sorry, I don't know your name. She replies, It's Mabel. I finish, Tell them to help Mabel. And thank you very much as we're all tired and hungry. Present, Maria, at the cabin. Well, King Boss, my new nickname for Yin's father. Isn't anything like the stories I had heard. I was impressed as hell how he came in, took change, and gave my princess boss a break. I looked at Yin's, noting her hair was a mess. She was dirty as hell, and for the first time I ever remember she smelled. And I don't mean like a daisy. I was pissed at myself for not being here for her, since she was my primary job, not chasing all over hell and back after Linus. I grab my princess boss's hand and order, We need to get you cleaned up before the meeting. She follows me into the tunnels, and I ask, Where's your room? The response I get surprises the hell out of me. Present, Yin's, at the cabin. Maria asks me where my room is, and I realize my room, my wonderful room that I was going to share with Ben, is gone. I burn it up to kill the rats and the bees and the yucky cockroaches. Oh, it can all be replaced except for one item, Ben's Hero of the Russian Federation medal. I'm sure he will hate me when he finds out. I remember him telling me that was the only medal he ever got that was worth a damn. I collapse to the floor and begin to cry. Maria helps me up and says, Yin's, come on. Things are over now, and King Boss is here to help. I look at her, wipe my nose, and question King Boss. Who the hell is that? Maria laughs. Well, if you're the princess boss, then. I giggle. Daddy is King Boss. Maria walks me into one of the sleeping quarters, helps me off with my clothes, puts me into the shower, and turns it on. I complain, Maria, this is cold as hell because someone shut off the propane tank. She replies, Should I have someone turn it back on? I answer, Not right now. I need to turn off the doomsday device first. Maria says, Yin's, Todd is here and signed that he can turn it off if you would like, and start the water heater. I wonder how the hell he knows how to do this, but then he's always been a mystery, so I yell, Yeah, if he can do that, it would be great. Maria says, Todd also signed he's going to shut down the whole security system because with this many people around it will cause problems. Damn, I owe Todd big time, and we'll have to figure out a way to repay him. I answer, Tell him he's in charge of control of the house, and to do whatever he needs to do. Maria questions, Do you have any clothes down here? I reply, There's a supply room that has Marine Corps combat utility uniforms in a variety of sizes. She states, I'm getting some for the both of us, and I will be back to make sure you're okay. To be truthful, I was glad she was gone since all I wanted to do was to be alone. Present, Todd, in the tunnels. I was extremely pleased to be placed in charge of the whole house and planned to make some changes. First on my agenda, I turn off the alarm system, and later I plan performing some serious modifications to its programming. We have enough Marines here right now that we don't need the security system, and I'm not going to let that thing go crazy and try to kill me or anyone else again. Then I turn off the doomsday system on the upstairs part of the house. I head outside to turn the propane back on, and I see something that I hadn't thought about. I need to get back inside and warn everyone as soon as possible. I run back into the house, hurry to the first terminal, and I execute a command. Now to find Jens and explain what I just did and why. Present, Maria, in the tunnels. I haul out into the hallway and finally find the supply room my princess boss told me about. Linus comes up and asks, "Hey sweetie, do you have some time for me?" I give him a kiss on the cheek and say, "Hey lover, not right now. My princess boss is trying to have an atomic meltdown and I need to take care of her. By the way, you're expected to be in a meeting in." I check my watch and say, "Shit, 20 minutes. I sprint toward where I left Jennifer, enter the room, go into the shower, and hell, she's sitting on the floor and hasn't done anything. I strip off my clothes, walk over to her, and yell, "What the hell is my princess boss doing sitting on the floor?" That wakes her out of her stupor, and she answers, "What the hell did I tell you about calling me that?" I counter, "Well, we have 20 damn minutes to make you presentable for the king boss. Something tells me you better not be late or he just might put you over his knee and spank you." I begin to help her wash and curse that I wasn't here to help. Then the water turns off. Jens complains, "What the hell is going on now?" Present, Todd, in the tunnels. I run to the room that Jens is using and pound on the door. Maria comes to the door in a bathrobe and complains, "We don't have any water." I nod my head and sign. Yes, I turned off the water because until we can have the well tested, we can't be sure the narcotic lord didn't poison it. Maria yells, "Jens, do we have any water stored in the basement?" Jens comes to the door wearing a bathrobe and says, "Damn Skippy, we do." Why? I sign again. Jens, until we can get the well tested, we cannot be sure that the narcotic lord's army didn't poison the water. Jens says, "Shit, I didn't think about that. Hell, Mabel is cooking and probably using the water. Todd, you need to stop her because she tastes the food as she cooks. Maria, you need to spread the word to everyone else about not drinking the tap water." I run to the kitchen, get there just as Mabel is bringing a spoon toward her lips. I knock an arrow, fire, and knock the spoon out of her hands. She turns with an angry look on her face and yells, "What in the world did you do that for?" I sign, "Sorry, Mabel, but we cannot be sure the water wasn't poisoned. You will need to destroy all that food and use the water that Jens has stored here in the basement." She says, "Well, I've already tasted some of the food." I drop my pack, pull out my small medkit, take out the bottle of syrup of Ipecac and sign, "Drink this, and I will try to find the doctor." Present, Linus, Jim, and Matt, in the tunnels. Maria is running down the hallway in a robe and I tease, "I could help you off with that robe." She states, "Linus, not right now. We need to tell everyone not to drink the water because Todd thinks it might be poisoned." I look at Matt and Jim and order, "This is serious, and we need to get the word to all the troops as soon as possible." Jim says, "I'll take the front of the house." Matt says, "I'll take the workshop entrance." And I decide to cover the rest of the tunnel complex, which is awesome. I could only dream of having someplace like this. I decide to head to the meeting room. Present, Glenn, in the tunnels. Well, it's been 30 minutes. I'm here, my 20 Marines are here, Jack and Masha and their cute little boy are here, Liz and Bernie are here. But where the hell is my little princess boss and the rest of her crew? Someone has been thoughtful and put out pitchers of water. I pour some into a glass, get ready to take a drink when Linus runs into the room, yells no, then dives across the table and tackles the hell out of me. Present, Linus, in the tunnels. I barely stop Glenn from taking a drink of water, and the next thing I know I hear about 20 Marines yell, slowly, "Get the hell off our general." I look around and see all of them are pointing their M4s at me, and I explain, "Sorry about that, but I had to keep Glenn from drinking the water since we're not sure the narcotic lord's army didn't poison the well." Glenn squirms out from under me and orders, "Stand down, men." Damn, I didn't think about that, but it's a real possibility. Who can we thank for coming up with that idea? I rise, help Glenn up, and answer, "Todd did. Until we have the water tested, we need to use the water that Jens has stored here in the basement." Jack says, "Damn, that's another one we all owe him. He was smart enough to cover the door into the cabin while the rest of us were at the workshop door." Masha adds, "Yes, his forethought in this situation has been excellent. I am embarrassed I did not perceive the risk." Glenn asks, "So where are Jennifer and the rest of your team?" I reply, "Maria, Jim, and Matt are telling everyone about the water. I'm not sure where Jens is." Glenn orders, "Well, what are you all doing standing around? We need to get the word to the rest of the Marines as soon as possible. We also need to arrange to have some water hauled in here." The Marines take off. Glenn looks at me and says, "Present, Glenn, in the tunnels." I shake Linus's hand and say, "Thanks. I owe you another one." He replies, "Another one?" I don't understand. I smile and explain, listen, I know all you've done to help my daughter. You have been more than a good friend to her. You've been like a big brother. Now if you could go find Maria and have her make sure Jennifer is okay, I would appreciate it. Linus blushes and says, yes, sir. Linus leaves. I decide I need to make a call, so I head outside and start to dial. Present, Linus, in the tunnels. I rush out of the room before I get too damn emotional. Damn, Glenn sure has changed from what he used to be. I remember when he was a scumsucker to everyone, especially Jens. Jens always blamed her mother for her influence over Glenn. If it's true, then he should have done something about it years ago. I see some Marines gathered around someone on the floor. Oh hell no. Present, Masha and Jack, in the tunnels. Jack's old general leaves, as does most of the room, so I lean over and whisper, Jack, what is wrong? He states, Masha, not here. We need to find a room for a private chat. We leave the conference room, find an empty sleeping room, close the door, and Jack confides, Masha, I know that everyone loves the hell out of Glenn being here, but I have a hard time forgiving him. This is surprising, so I request an explanation. Forgiving him for what? Jack spends the next 10 or more minutes relating to me how Glenn had messed up his and Ben's life because of Jennifer's love for Ben. He culminates by saying, but worst of all, he never mounted a rescue attempt when Ben was captured. Yeah, he broke the cardinal rule of no man left behind. In fact, I blame him for most of what has occurred since then. Hell, Ben and Jens should have been married by now and living a happy life. Ivan and I hug Jack and I say, my love, I understand if we must leave. He looks me in the eyes and declares, and leave Jennifer alone with him? Hell no. Present, Zarika, at the cabin. The nice doctor taking care of Yasmin says, damn, she's going to need surgery. He looks at some of the men around and orders, we need to carefully move her outside so I can get a medical plane in here. They begin to carry her, and I ask, please doctor, do not let her die. He says, don't worry, I've taken care of many Marines with worse injuries than hers. Then, what he tells me next makes me cry. Present, Alexei, Mira, and Ira, at the fertility clinic. My sisters have uncovered a factoid, but I am not certain of the nature, so I pursue an explanation. My sisters, what do you mean? Ira displays more anger on her face than I have ever seen and exclaims, Alexei, we have deduced whose inferior male creation component was substituted for the one we brought. Mira is even more angry than Ira and further expounds, yes, it was such a diabolical and evil exchange. Irinka, I wish to obtain one of your edged weapons. Ira hands Mira a short sword, then Mira stalks to the evil fertility doctor waving the sword and threatens, this edged weapon is so keen that I can flay minuscule pieces of skin from your corporeal self. Even though we have deduced this information, inform me now of my so-called benefactor's name. He sputters and starts to complain when Mira uses the short sword to flay a minuscule piece of flesh off his right ear. He screams in pain, what did you do that for? Ira has retrieved another sword. It is a mystery to me where she hides all of them on her corporeal self and threatens, Mira, perhaps he requires a matching wound on his opposite external auditory canal. I laugh as the doctor wets himself and I suggest, Doctor, they will flay pieces from you until you answer their question. If you value your corporeal self, it would be wise to quickly tell them everything they wish. He pleads, okay, just please don't cut me anymore. I will tell you. His name is Akamt. Mira cries, falls to her knees and wails, I knew it wasn't my Ben's progeny. However, I am thankful I expelled the fetus of that foul, fetid fool. Ira swears, that dirty, despicable, diabolical a-hole. He always wished to impregnate one of us and produced this elaborate farce to secure the means to his ends. I stare at Ira because I have never heard her use a real swear word. Ira continues slashing the air with her sword threateningly in front of the doctor. I should separate your cranial carapace from your body. The doctor begs, please, I might be of some use to you. I suggest, Doctor, what you choose to do next will determine whether you continue to live. Present, Ben, on the road. Parsimonious Paul has shown me the angel picture that Stinky Pete drew of me. Explained about some crazy TV show where a bunch of damn bikers run a town. Now how screwed up can Hollywood get, trying to turn bikers into heroes? Then he drops a bombshell on me. I guess you don't know that the places along your route where you saved the truckers from the bandits between Dallas and Austin have been turned into shrines? I sputter, what the hell are you talking about? He laughs and explains, hell, look in the photo album on the dash. I grab the photo album and look at the cover with the title Trucker's Angel Sights. I open it to the first picture. I remember that place well, and screw me. There's the car nose down beside the road, half buried with a cross hanging on it, and that damn picture of me. Less the face, thank God. I flip to the next page and I have to ask, don't tell me? PP looks over and laughs. Yep, that's a bunch of us praying at the shrine. I complain, I sure as hell don't know whose idea this was, but I'm sure as hell not a saint and never claimed to be. PP laughs. Yeah, spoken like a true saint. Then he explains, oh, some of us pray to God for your safety, and some pray right to you. Now those are the ones I worry about. I mean, they have actually deified you. I turn to the next picture and gripe. What the hell is she doing? PP looks at the picture and laughs up a storm. Well, whether you know it or not, you have a hell of a lot of groupies wanting to bump nasties with you. She's getting your angel picture tattooed on her butt. But don't worry, we refuse to let your face be shown. This has snowballed and gotten way out of hand, so I plead. How in the hell can I stop this? PP explains, now, I have a few years on you, so let me explain something, son. You don't mind if I call you son? I reply, hell, you're old enough to be my grandfather, so I guess your years have given you that honor. PP continues, son, even if you could stop this, there's no way in hell you'd want to stop it. Look, you have taken a bunch of broken down, worn-out truck drivers, most of them with families, who never knew if the next run would be their last. You've given them not just their hope back, hell, you've given them back the life they love. You see, trucking gets in your blood. Being your own boss and setting your own hours is addictive. But you do need to be careful of a couple things. I question, and those things are, PP answers, I mentioned first, the crazy scumsuckers that pray to you, and second, the groupies. You'll see what I mean about them when we pull in at the next truck stop. I'm pissed as hell, but I need to think, so I say, I think I'm going to kick back and take a nap. PP says, yeah, you need to think about all this and get ready for when we stop at the first truck stop. By now they will all know we are coming. I lean back in the seat and wonder if it was such a wise idea to catch a ride on a truck. Present, Samantha and Stacy, Austin. I finish my piece on the Mossad and can't wait until it's released and Liz sees it. I walk over to Stacy and say, thanks for the video equipment and the theater location. Now when are we going to find Ben? Stacy looks surprised as hell and lies. Samantha, I don't know what the hell you were talking about. I grin and answer, come on Stacy, I may be young, but I know why you have this team here, and I guess why we came to Austin. We're here because Ben is or was here. Bill walks over and asks, Miss Summers, do we have a problem? Shit. Samantha figured out what I was really doing, and there's no hiding it from her. Bill walks over, and for a moment as I think about ordering him to take her somewhere and not let her go. Then Samantha says, Stacy, you don't have to have your bodyguard detain me. I don't have any intention of telling Liz or Jennifer Donaldson where we are or what we're doing. I ask the next logical question, and how can I trust you? Samantha answers, well, I will let you control all my phone calls and also approve all the reports I release. Then she adds, listen, next to Ben, you're the best story in America right now. So I would be a big fool to lose the chance to interview you. And you saw how terrible I made the Mossad look. I can make you look very good. I say, Samantha, let me talk this over with Bill for a moment. Bill and I move away and I ask, what's your take on this? Bill pulls up his phone, looks at it, and advises, according to the voice analyzer, she's telling the truth. And let's face it, if she can make you look half as good as she ripped the Mossad, it will be priceless. I state, I agree, however I want all location services disabled on her phone. We walk back over. I look at Samantha, hold out my hand. We shake and I say, you've got a deal. Now Bill needs to look at your phone. Samantha hands it to him and replies, don't worry. All the location services are turned off. Bill states, Samantha, we are going to do some special things to this phone so they can't even find you by using cell tower triangulation. Samantha says, good, because I sure don't want the Mossad to find me. I laugh. Yeah, after what you said about them, I'm sure you're now a target. Samantha replies, Stacy, can we talk in private? We move away from Bill, and what Samantha says next concerns me. Present, Liz and Bernie, at the cabin. I look at Bernie and say, Bernie, it's time I do my job and report on this mess at the cabin. Bernie agrees. Hell yes, it's about time. Let me go get the small digital camera. I am glad we always keep a small portable camera in my purse. Bernie heads back into the tunnel. I notice a bunch of Marines milling around a trailer, walk over, and there's a television and Samantha's on. She's just started doing a report on the Mossad that helped her. Now this is interesting. Samantha floors me when she reports, all of America needs to know the Mossad team is here under false pretenses. They told me they were here to help eliminate the illegal aliens that are invading Texas, but I have verifiable proof they are actually a death squad who were sent here after Ben Blaine. Not only that, there are serious questions as to whether they might be here illegally. Samantha pauses, sadly looks down, then looks back into the camera with more anger than I'd ever seen her display. Then she announces, and I am ashamed to report that my former husband Frank is a bigamist. He told me the love of his life had been killed in a bombing. However, he was actually married to her the whole time. This fired the Marines up. They begin to shout, and I can't hear the rest of Samantha's report. One says, hell, We might be pissed at Ben, but we sure as hell aren't going to let a bunch of Mossad scumsuckers kill him. He's a Marine. Another Marine adds, and I can't believe the one scumsucker was already married when he married Samantha. Hell, I'm going to castrate the scumsucker when we catch them. I decide I need to talk to Samantha to make sure she's doing okay. I pull out my phone and call her. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. I wake up, Inga smiles at me, and I threaten, the next time you knock me out. Inga giggles and interrupts, yes, I just might take advantage of you. Byron states the current situation. Tom, General Donaldson approved of all our actions to date and has deployed a recon team to assist us in either capturing or killing Megan. I question, I thought he retired. Byron gives me the same hackneyed line, once a Marine, always a Marine. Then he gives me a sitrep on all that's gone on at Jennifer's cabin. It made me sick until he adds, I hate to tell you, but they took out one of the SIF's semis. I complain, what the hell? How did that happen? Byron explains, it looks like they've recruited the Zetas, is a powerful and violent criminal syndicate in Mexico, and is considered by the U.S. government to be the most technologically advanced, sophisticated, and dangerous cartel operating in Mexico. The origins of Los Zetas date back to 1999, when commandos of the Mexican Army's elite forces deserted their ranks and decided to work as the armed wing of the Gulf Cartel, a powerful narcotic trafficking organization. In February 2010, Los Zetas broke away from their former employer and formed their own criminal organization. And MS-13 is a transnational criminal gang that originated in Los Angeles and has spread to other parts of the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Central America. The majority of the gang is ethnically composed of Central Americans and active in urban and suburban areas. In the U.S., the MS-13 has an especially heavy presence in Los Angeles County and the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California, the Washington, D.C. metropolitan areas of Fairfax County, Virginia, Montgomery County, Maryland, and Prince George's County, Maryland, Long Island, New York, the Boston, Massachusetts area, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Houston, Texas, who brought some serious firepower to the fray. They blew it and part of a team to hell with an anti-tank round and damn near got General Donaldson. That really pisses me off, the thought of taking out one of the semis. I promise, this means war. I want that scumsucker's head. I request an explanation. Byron, Tom, what is that sifts? Tom looks at me and says, Inga, if I told you I would have to kill you. I laugh and tell him what I already know. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. I ordered, Tatiana stopped the taxi on the side of the road. So far the directions had been perfect and there were only a few more turns, but it was obvious which building housed the stupid major. I pointed and commented, what a devious building to function for holding the captured major. We would have never discovered it without the precise directions from the major. Yes, the last few turns indicated the Chechens had defiled an abandoned Orthodox church, a relic from the Soviet experience when many Orthodox churches were closed or relegated to other duties, to house their base of operations, and the major. Tatiana asked, Masha, what is our plan? I directed my second bag toward her and said, please change your disguise. We will exit the taxi and proceed the rest of the way on foot. I looked in the bag of clothes, smiled and offered, Masha, you are a genius. Yes, the bag contained the clothes of another old grandmother. The Chechens would readily believe we were coming to our old church to worship God and would probably not risk revealing themselves. What danger could two old grandmothers pose to a band of revolutionary Chechens? Plus, the clothes and bags we carried, all old grandmothers seemed to carry large bags, would conceal our many weapons. I was almost changed when Masha ordered, Tatiana, duck. I quickly ducked and wondered what had happened. Masha's phone rang. She answered and then swore, what are those two doing? I questioned, which two? She stated, the twins are in Israel and have just initiated some major problems. I considered that right now we need to keep our heads in this game or we might lose them. Flashback, Major M, being held hostage. There was a hell of a lot of yelling, and judging by the tone, most of it sounded like orders being shouted. I heard weapons being readied, followed by the rumble of a large vehicle pulling away. I squirmed slightly, testing my restraints, but before I could do much, one of the guards struck me and barked, no move. Great. They didn't take everyone, just left a different guard behind. I decided to test the waters and see if I could shift the situation in my favor. Hey, man, that uniform of yours looks a little loose. What's the deal with that? He moved slightly, then slammed a fist into my stomach. What he didn't realize was that I could take stomach punches all day long. I grinned. So I was right. Not exactly standard issue gear, huh? He growled something under his breath and hit me again. That was good. I had his attention. Now I just needed to keep him distracted while I worked on getting free. Flashback. Ben on his mission. Well, I certainly got their attention. Gunfire erupted from several buildings, but the shots went wide as I rolled unpredictably in my wheelchair. I grabbed one of my AKs, aimed at a window where some of the fire was coming from, and squeezed off 2 quick shots. The shooter tumbled out, dead before he hit the ground. I kept moving, lined up another target, fired a short burst, and dropped another hostile. A small group charged toward me, shouting battle cries. I lowered the AK, rolled sideways to throw off their aim, and unleashed a controlled burst, taking down most of them. The others scrambled behind a short wall for cover. I yelled, "What's the matter? Can't even handle one guy in a wheelchair?" By now, I had drawn the attention of the Spetsnaz. They were running toward me, shouting for me to take cover. Then, a truck came barreling into the small park from a side road. Through the windshield, I could see it was packed to the brim with enemy fighters. I locked my sights on the incoming vehicle, pointed my wheelchair downhill, and let it rip. Flashback. Glenn. My aide came in and said, "Sir, you need to see what's on the news from Russia." I thought, what the hell has gone wrong now? I headed into the conference room where the television was located and I cautioned, "Don't tell me that's Sergeant Blaine in the wheelchair." My aide answered, "Unfortunately, sir, it is. The Chechens were shooting at him, and he was returning fire while I complained. What's that crazy scumsucker trying to do? Get himself killed?" Flashback. Jens. A special report came on, and I couldn't believe it. Did my Ben go crazy? He was outside the hospital in a wheelchair, and it looked like he was taking on the whole Chechen army. Then a truck headed toward him, and I couldn't believe what he did next. Unfortunately, the news crew quickly lost him. Flashback. Jack and Colonel Maggie, inside the BTR-80. I yelled, "What's that crazy Ben doing now?" Maggie questioned, "Is that a bedpan he's wearing for a helmet?" We saw a truck full of the Chechen scumsuckers come in from the side of the park. Ben pointed his wheelchair down the hill and accelerated at a tremendous speed. Colonel Maggie ordered, "Lieutenant, let's chase the truck and see if your men can shoot the hell out of it." I complained, "Hell, let me on the 7.62, I'll kill the scumsuckers." As we began to chase the truck, I was shocked as hell at how fast we all were going. Flashback. Masha and Tatiana, Old Orthodox Church. I warned, "Tatiana, I believe that something has forced most of the Chechens to leave." She replied, "If that is the case, then we need to hurry." I ordered, "Remember, we are old grandmothers and cannot move that quickly." We stepped out of the taxi as 2 old grandmothers and shuffled toward the church. Masha instructed me, "Tatiana, hunch slightly more and shuffle your feet more." I obeyed. We reached the front church doors, then Masha stated, "These doors are old and have not been opened in a very long time. So the Chechen rebels must be using the back doors or a side door." We shuffled our way along the side of the church. Flashback. Ben, on his mission. Damn straight, I was having fun now. I lowered the hell out of the seat in this wheelchair, so my center of gravity was lower by cutting the original seat. Then I used Sergei's tactical vest as the new seat. It was harder to manually operate the wheels, but my plan was to head downhill as long as I could, and when I ran out of hill, turn and face the scumsuckers. Thank God I saw the truck coming in time for me to get headed downhill, and now I was flying. Hell, this wheelchair was going so fast that the front wheels shook and rattled like they were having an epileptic seizure. I figured any minute they would break off and send me flying. I knew the truckload of Chechen scumsuckers were behind me, so I pointed one of the AKs behind me, rested it on my shoulder, and fired short bursts. I wasn't sure I was hitting anything because the wheelchair and the AK made too much noise. Flashback. Jack and Colonel Maggie, inside the BTR-80. I couldn't believe it. Ben in his crazy wheelchair was outrunning the truck and the BTR-80. I manned the 7.62 machine gun and began to fire at the truck. But the way this scumsucker bounced around on its 8 damn tires, it was almost impossible to hit anything. Colonel Maggie was beside me and said, "Damn Jack, can't you hit anything?" I complained, "Hell no. Not the way this thing is bouncing around. Do you think you could do better?" I answered, "Hell yes I could." I took over the machine gun. Then I realized the old fart was right. You couldn't hit shit with this damn machine gun because of the way this APC bounced. Jack laughed, "I told you so. Now move back over and let me keep trying." I yelled, "What the hell does Sergeant Blaine think he's doing?" Jack answered, "My best guess is he found out what the Chechens were doing to this town, knew it was because of him, so he eliminated the danger to the town by making himself the target." I complained, "If he gets killed, the old man is going to have both our butts." Flashback. Masha and Tatiana, Old Orthodox Church. We found a side door which was missing, and I gave hand signals to Tatiana. We slowly walked around the doorway, but we actually tactically sliced the doorway like a pie. No one stood guard, so we slowly entered the abandoned church. The first thing we noticed was the entire back of the church where the iconostasis would have been located, and even the back of the church was missing. I whispered, That is how they hid the truck in the church. We heard a voice in English as it taunted, "Mohem head was a common thief." Then someone swore in Chechen, and we heard the sound of grunts. I stated, "Tatiana, the major is provoking his guard to beat him." She replied, "Now is the perfect time for us to attack." We removed our weapons from the bags and, flashback, Major M, being held hostage. I heard two distinctive pops from a suppressed weapon, and the scumsucker immediately stopped hitting my stomach, groaned like crazy, and fell into my lap. I yelled, "Who the hell is there?" But I didn't receive an answer. Even though whoever it was walked quiet as hell, I still heard them approach me, so I added, "Look, I'm an American Marine, and if you rescue me, you will have a friend forever." There was still no answer, but I felt the tape holding my arms and hands being sliced. I tried to grab one of them, but got the hell smacked out of my hand. I tried it again, and they punched my face, so I figured they wanted me to wait patiently. I heard them run away, pushed the dead scumsucker off my lap, yanked the hood off my head, and quickly took the tape off my legs and feet. I grabbed the scumsucker's AK, slowly slipped out the door, and saw a taxi. I ran to the taxi and saw the driver was unconscious in the back seat. I sure as hell wasn't going to look this gift horse in the mouth, so I jumped in and drove the hell away from the church. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, Old Orthodox Church. We were old grandmothers again as we slowly shuffled away from the church. The taxi sped past us with the major driving, and Tatiana commented, "Masha, that mission was almost too easy." I answered, "Yes, we were fortunate that most of the Chechens left, otherwise it might have been a large battle." Tatiana questioned, "I wonder." I started to question what pulled the Chechens away, then I became worried and asked, "Masha, do you think the terrors went after Ben?" Masha looked at me and answered, "Tatiana, it is the only presumption that makes sense." I wanted to run to get back and protect Ben, but Masha cautioned, "Tatiana, we must stay in character until we can procure a taxi." This situation was Polny Pizdits, Russian mad, Russian underground language which you will not find in most translators, and which the Duma, Russian legislative branch, keeps trying to outlaw. Its best translation to English is the term subar, screwed up beyond all recognition. But Masha was correct. We needed to stay in character until we found a taxi. Flashback, Glenn. The damn camera crew finally started showing live pictures again. They were behind a BTR 80 which looked to be chasing a truckload of the Chechen scumsuckers, and screw me. Sergeant Reynolds and the colonel were trying to shoot the truck, but weren't having much luck. The ticker at the bottom of the screen flashed. I couldn't believe it. Flashback, Jens. The reporters repeated the video of Ben in the little park, and I hoped for more video. I was so worried about Ben because the last pictures showed a big truck full of those evil Chechens chasing him. Finally, new and live video came on. It was from behind a big tank-looking vehicle, and the reporter said the Chechen's truck was ahead of the tank and the tank was firing at it. I was shocked when they said the speeds were in excess of 80 kilometers per hour. That was almost 50 miles an hour. If my Ben fell out of the wheelchair at the speed, he could be hurt, and he hadn't even finished healing from being shot. Then there was another change, and I became really worried. Flashback, Tatiana and Masha, in a taxi. We finally found a taxi and directed him to drive us to the hospital. He started to take an unusual route, so I questioned, in character, "Sonny, why are you taking this strange route?" He responded, "There's some kind of big chase happening on the usual route." I glanced at Masha, and she gave a nod. Without hesitation, I drew my weapon, pressed it against the back of his head, and ordered, "We need to take that route." He cursed under his breath in frustration. Reaching over the seat, I swiftly knocked him unconscious, then jumped out of the passenger side, shoved him over, and took control of the vehicle. We headed down a big hill, and I yelled, "Masha, is that what I think it is?" Flashback, Jack, inside the BTR 80. I looked at Maggie and stated, "I think Ben's luck might be running out." She replied, "Yeah, he's running out of downhill, so what the hell is he going to do now?" Rounds peppered the BTR 80. Maggie yelled, "That wasn't the Chechens." I answered, "Yeah, Ben is firing over his shoulder and not doing any better at hitting his target than we were. Yeah, the Chechen scumsuckers were firing at Ben and didn't care about us. And they were doing even worse firing at Ben than we did firing at them." I saw one turn toward the BTR, and I yelled, "Quick, get back inside." An RPG slammed into the BTR, but didn't do any damage. Then I got an idea and asked the lieutenant. Flashback, Ben, on his mission. I could see that my fun and luck were running out. Yeah, hills can only be so long, and this one was ending. I looked for a defensible position to head into with my wheelchair. In between almost going deaf firing the AK beside my head, I heard another big noise behind me, but I wasn't sure what it was. I saw a great place to make my final stand and go out in a blaze of glory while taking as many of the Chechen scumsuckers with me as I could. When, thank God, now I knew what else was behind me. But it was hard as hell seeing where I needed to go. Flashback, Masha, in a taxi. Yes, we had problems with Ben, but I also had large inventory of other problems. If what my team told me about the twins in Israel was true, then I needed to do something about it as soon as possible, because they really created a... I pushed that problem temporarily out of mind and concentrated on saving Ben. Flashback, Safia, Ira, and Mira, in Israel. After I got some of my payback using the 304 moan joke, we were close enough to the location that I advised. We are here, and we'll need to continue this discussion later. They both complained. Safia, that is a cruel punishment. I internally smiled and thought, you bet but it is. Payback is. Hey, that gave me a new idea. I stored that idea for later and said, one of you will have to drive if you want to complete what you were planning. Ira stated, I will place a rectangular building component on the pedal of acceleration and affix the wheel in the proper direction with a woven strand made of hemp. I questioned, you're going to put a brick on the gas pedal and tie the wheel with a rope. Mira answered, yes, Safia, that is what Ira indicated. I shook my head and argued, you two make the use of language a real son of a bitch. Mira questioned, Ira, I think Safia has commenced a new set of euphemisms. Ira directed, because of our impending action, such action is not currently appropriate, Safia. I watched as she put a brick on the gas pedal, and the car sounded like it was going to explode. Then she tied the steering wheel so it would travel straight and slammed the car into gear. It roared right toward the Mossad headquarters. The guards began to fire at the car when it approached the building, but they were too late. It slammed into the building, exploded, and destroyed the greater part of the building. I felt the attempted desecration of me by the Mossad was mostly vindicated by the total destruction of their primary base of operations. Some might cognate that it was an extreme measure. However, the attempted forcible mob training of my corporeal self was a worse injustice. And when they added insult to injury with another unwise act, a stern message needed to be sent. As we walked away, Mira stated, Ira, that was a grand message you delivered to the Mossad, however it might create additional difficulties. Safia added, difficulties hell. They're going to want to bitch slap the hell out of you too, and we haven't even found my sister yet. I replied, Safia, enough with the new euphemisms. We still have not unlocked the hormone conundrum, and we are directly going to rescue your sister. I watched as a new vehicle approached and stated, now this vehicle will serve our purpose in a grand manner. Ira and I pulled out our rifles. The vehicle slowed and stopped. Safia ordered, get your butts out of the truck or they will shoot you. I decided I appreciated that Safia accompanied us. Her command of the common language facilitated our mission. However, I still had not ascertained the meaning of the hormone joke or the line of punch. I couldn't believe it. The girls actually stopped a fire truck headed to the Mossad headquarters. I ordered everyone out. They left the truck. Mira, Ira, and I climbed into the cab. I began to drive and stated, I've always wanted to drive a fire truck. I went to shift. The truck lurched, and Mira commented, Safia, are you not proficient with a transmission of manual? I lied. Well, I might be sort of proficient. Ira started, Mira, we still have the hormone conundrum to solve. Mira added, and the new son of a bitch and bitch slap euphemisms. I tried to shift again. The transmission ground, and Ira stated, Safia, you must use the extra pedal on the floor to manually change gears. I lied, doe? I knew that. Ira looked at Mira. What does the term doe mean? Mira stated, it is one more euphemism mystery, which I am sure Safia will torture us with. Ira reminded, we could still apply the gun of stun to her butt. I threatened, if you do that, then the euphemism training will cease. Mira questioned, Safia, how did you become so well-versed in language? I sadly answered, my sister aspired to become a language teacher before she was sold into slavery. Ira announced, perhaps when we free Safia's sister, she will be grateful and supply us with an answer to the hormone conundrum. Mira added, yes, I am still highly confused, and the problem consumes too much of my mental capacity. Ira questioned, Safia, please state the hormone riddle once again. Mira added, in the line of punch. I laughed. He answered, how do you make a 304 moan? And added the punchline, you don't pay her the money. Then the twins tried to figure it out. Flashback, Ben, on his mission. I guided the wheelchair into a depression which of course upset it and tossed me out on the ground. But I was ready and made sure to keep both AKs and all the magazines with me. It hurt like hell when I crashed into the depression and I felt it happen. Yeah, he was taking over again. It was like I saw the world through different eyes as he stood up, saw the Chechen truck through the smoke, ran toward it, and blasted the hell out of it. Hell, I was not just standing, I was running. He heard some gunfire behind me. He turned and saw two old grandmothers helping him fight the Chechens. What the hell? I guess the grandmothers hated them as much as I did. He turned back and the BTR-80 opened up on the Chechen truck with both its machine guns. He dove to the ground as the rounds that missed cracked over his head, then everything went. Flashback, Tatiana and Masha, fighting. I couldn't believe my eyes. Ben's wheelchair hit a hole in the ground, and suddenly, he stood up, then ran. Yes, he ran straight toward the attackers, firing 2 AK-47s. The realization hit me like a shockwave. Ben could walk. If he could walk, that meant we had a chance. I needed to snap Tatiana out of her daze. Get your head in the game and start firing now? I barked. That did it. She shook off her hesitation, and together, we took the fight to the enemy. Then Ben fell to the ground and didn't move. I was worried that. Flashback, Glenn. The news showed that Sergeant Blaine crashed his wheelchair into a depression in the ground. Then the crazy scumsucker stood up and ran towards the Chechen trucks while he fired 2 AK-47 on full auto. I think that Sergeant Blaine had watched Rambo 1 too many times. The ticker at the bottom of the screen said something about Major M, but I couldn't understand what it said. Flashback, Jens. Oh, I am so frickin' angry. My Ben was acting reckless, and it looked like he was trying to get himself killed. First he crashed in the wheelchair, then he jumped up and ran toward the nasty Chechen truck while he fired 2 rifles at them. Then he dove to the ground and didn't move as the Chechen truck exploded. I noticed the news ticker on the bottom of the screen, and it said that Ben's nasty Major M had escaped. I wondered how that happened. Perhaps Ben had planned this so the Major could escape. Flashback, Major M. Interview with the press. I hauled in the taxi to the hospital, was stopped by the Spetsnaz until they realized who I was. Then they rushed me into the hospital. A reporter came up to me and asked, Major, you are the one that was captured by the Chechens? I replied, yes, I am that person. The reporter continued, how did you escape? I paused for a moment, considering how to frame my answer, then said, they left me alone with only one guard. I provoked him until he lost his temper, and when he started to attack me, I managed to overpower him. Then the reporter asked me something that shocked me. Tell me how you feel about Sergeant Blaine becoming a hero once again? I questioned again. What did he do this time? She showed me the videos which the Russian news services kept repeating, and I realized once again I had been upstaged by Sergeant Blaine. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.